You're staring at your phone again. 3 hours disappeared. You promised yourself just 10 minutes. But here you are, scrolling through lives that aren't yours, feeling worse with every swipe. Your chest feels tight. Your eyes burn. And somewhere deep inside, you know something's breaking. Not dramatically, quietly, like a rope fraying thread by thread. I was there 30 days ago. Couldn't sleep without checking messages. Couldn't eat without watching something. Couldn't sit in silence for even 60 seconds without panic rising. My mind was a radio stuck between stations. Nothing but noise and static. Then I found something. Not a solution. A practice. 5 teachings from monks who'd spent lifetimes studying the architecture of human attention. They called it entering monk mode. 30 days of specific practices. Not extreme. Not monastic. Just intentional. I almost didn't try. Seemed too simple. Too quiet. But I was desperate in that particular way where you'll try anything because nothing else has worked. So I started. Day 1 felt impossible. Day 7 felt strange. Day 15 felt like waking up. And day 30, I barely recognized myself. Not because I'd become someone new, but because I'd remembered who I was before the noise, before the constant input, before I gave my attention away to anything that asked. This isn't about becoming a monk. It's about reclaiming something you didn't realize you'd lost, your ability to be here, fully, without needing anything else. The 5 teachings are simple, almost embarrassingly so. But simple doesn't mean easy. And what happened when I followed them changed not just my days, but the entire feeling of being alive. I'm going to share them exactly as I learned them, and what happened in my body, my mind, my relationship, when I finally stopped running, when I finally sat still. The first teaching, silence before dawn. Not meditation, not affirmations, just sitting in the dark before sunrise, doing nothing. The monks said this was when the mind was softest, before the day's demands hardened it into familiar pattern, before language took over, before identity kicked in. I set my alarm for 5:30. The first morning, I hated it. Sat on my bedroom floor in the dark, annoyed. My mind screamed that this was stupid, that I should be sleeping, that I had emails to check. But I stayed, just sitting, just breathing, watching thoughts appear like cars passing on a distant highway. By day 3, something shifted. The silence stopped feeling empty. It felt full, like sitting by an ocean, present, alive. The monks were right about timing. Dawn is different. The world is quieter. Your nervous system hasn't activated. You're not yet the person you've decided you are. You're just consciousness, watching darkness become light. I started noticing things. How my first thought of the day was usually anxious. How my body held tension even while sleeping. How the moment I reached for my phone, something inside me contracted. But in that pre-dawn darkness, none of that mattered. I wasn't performing, wasn't producing, wasn't even trying to be peaceful. I was just there. And slowly, over days, this changed everything else. Because how you start shapes everything that follows. Start in silence, and you carry silence inside you. Start in stillness, and you notice when you've lost it. Start without input, and you realize how much of what you consume is actually noise. By day 10, I was waking before the alarm. My body wanted this, craved it, not the darkness, but the space. The monks called it returning to original mind. I called it remembering I existed before my phone did. The second teaching, one task, complete attention, no multitasking, ever. When eating, eat. When walking, walk. When working, work. The monks said fractured attention creates fractured being, that we lose ourselves not in big moments, but in millions of small betrayals of present. This one was harder than silent. My entire life was built on doing 3 things at once: podcast while cooking, email while talking, planning while driving. I thought this made me efficient. The monks said it made me absent, so I tried. Made coffee without checking news, ate breakfast without screens, drove to work without podcasts, just me and the road. The first week felt excruciating. My brain screamed for input. Withdrawal symptoms from constant stimulation. My hands reached for my phone involuntarily, like an amputated limb still trying to move. But I noticed something. When I just made coffee, I smelled it, tasted it, felt the warmth. When I just ate, I actually satisfied. Needed less food because I was present for the eating. When I just drove, I saw things. The way light hit buildings. The expression on a stranger's face at a stoplight. Small moments I'd been missing for years. The monks were teaching me that life doesn't happen in accomplishments. It happens in attention. And every time I split my attention, I split myself. Made myself less whole, less here. By day 15, I was moving differently, slower, more deliberate. People asked if I was okay. I seemed different, calmer. I was, because I was finally arriving in my own life, not thinking about it, not planning it, not consuming content about it, actually living it. One moment, one task, one breath, completely. This teaching alone changed how food tasted, how conversations felt, how work flowed, because I was finally, actually, undeniably there. The third teaching, sunset fasting, not from food, from input, no screens after sundown, no news, no social media, no consuming other people's thoughts. The monks said our ancestors lived by natural light, that artificial light and information after dark disrupts something ancient in us, makes us restless, prevents real rest. This teaching terrified me. What would I do with my evening? How would I wind down? How would I know what was happening in the world? But I committed. After sunset, just books, conversation, or silent. The first evening felt like being trapped. I paced my apartment, looked at my dark phone like an ex I was trying not to call. My brain produced anxiety. What if something important happened? What if I missed something? But nothing happened. The world continued without my observation, and something else started happening instead. I noticed my evening, the way lamplight looked, the sound of rain, the feeling of pages under my fingers. I started going to bed earlier, not because I should, because I was actually tired. My body's natural rhythm returning after years of blue light confusion. Sleep chain, deeper, dreams more vivid. I woke up more rested than I had in years. The monks explained, your nervous system needs darkness to fully rest, needs separation from the collective anxiety of constant connection, needs to discharge the day's stimulation by keeping yourself activated until midnight, scrolling, consuming, reacting. You never fully land, never fully rest. Your sleep becomes another form of waiting. By day 20, my evenings became sacred, the time when I returned to myself, where I processed the day not through others' opinions but through my own felt experience, where I wrote in journals, stared at walls, felt feelings I'd been postponing for months. Sunset fasting gave me my nights back, and in giving me my nights, it gave me my morning, because rest is where integration happens, where all the input becomes wisdom. The fourth teaching, mindful consumption. Choose carefully what enters your mind. The monks said we think we're free, but we're colonized by others' thoughts, beliefs, anxiety. That every piece of content we consume plants seeds. Some grow flowers, most grow weed. I started auditing everything. What podcasts was I listening to? What shows was I watching? What accounts was I following? And most importantly, how did I feel after? Most made me feel worse, inadequate, behind, anxious about problems I didn't have. So I cut, ruthlessly, unfollowed accounts that made me compare, stopped podcasts that added noise without wisdom, quit shows I watched from habit, not joy. The space this created was startling. Suddenly, I had hours, empty hours. Hours I'd been filling with other people's curated lives, opinions, dramas. At first, the emptiness scared me. But the monks said emptiness isn't absence, it's potential, space for your own thoughts to emerge, and they did. Ideas I'd been too crowded to hear, questions I'd been too distracted to ask, feelings I'd been too entertained to feel. By day 22, I realized something profound. Most of what I thought were my thoughts weren't mine. They were echoes, borrowed beliefs, absorbed anxiety. I'd been living a second-hand life. Thinking second-hand thoughts, feeling second-hand feeling. Mindful consumption wasn't about purity. It was about sovereignty, about reclaiming my inner space, about protecting my mind the way I'd protect my home. The monks asked a simple question. If you wouldn't let someone into your house, Why let them into your head? By day 30, my media diet was tiny but nourishing. 3 books, 2 podcasts, 1 newsletter, things that made me think deeper, feel truer, see clearer. Everything else was noise, and I was done with noise. The 5th teaching, movement as meditation. The monks didn't sit still all day. They moved, deliberately. Walking meditation, mindful work, simple, repetitive tasks done with full presence. They said the body knows things the mind cannot access. That movement without distraction is a doorway. I started walking, every day. No music, no podcasts, just walking. At first, my mind went wild, planning, worrying, replaying conversation. But I kept bringing attention back, to my feet touching ground, to breath moving in and out, to the feeling of air on skin. Slowly, something opened. Walking became less about getting somewhere, and more about being in motion. I started noticing rhythms, how my thoughts settled after 15 minutes, how tension released after 20, how by 30 minutes, I'd drop into a state of wordless clarity. The monks were right. The body is wiser than the mind. When you move it consciously, it releases what the mind holds too tightly. I added other movement, washing dishes with full attention, folding laundry slowly, deliberately, making my bed like a ritual, not to be productive, to be present. These simple acts became anchors, moments when I returned to myself, when I remembered I had a body, not just a brain. By day 25, movement changed from exercise to practice, from something I did to achieve to something I did to arrive. I wasn't walking to burn calories. I was walking to remember I was alive. The monks taught that meditation isn't just sitting, it's bringing full attention to anything, eating, walking, breathing, working, and when you do, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, not because it changes, but because you're finally present for it. Movement became my medicine, the thing that brought me back when I drifted into thought, the reminder that I lived in a body, on Earth, right now. Days 20 to 30 changed faster than the first 20, like compound interest, like seeds finally breaking soil. I wasn't trying anymore. The practices became natural. Waking before dawn wasn't discipline. It was desire. Silence wasn't empty. It was full. Single tasking wasn't limiting. It was liberating. Things I noticed. My relationships deepened because I was actually listening, not waiting to speak, not thinking about my phone, actually hearing what people said. My work improved because I was focused. 3 hours of complete attention produced more than 8 hours of fractured effort. My anxiety decreased, not because life got easier, because I stopped feeding the anxiety with constant input, stopped rehearsing problems, stopped borrowing troubles from the news. The monks were teaching me something ancient. That peace isn't something you achieve, it's something you stop disturbing. I'd been disturbing my peace constantly, with noise, with distraction, with other people's crises, with my phone, with the belief that I needed to know everything, do everything, be everything. But I didn't. I needed to be here, fully, completely, without division. People noticed. You seem different, they said, calmer, more present. What changed? Everything. Nothing. I'd simply stopped running, stopped filling every moment, stopped avoiding silence, stopped performing constant availability. I'd entered what the monks called monk mode, not by leaving the world, by being more fully in it, by giving my attention carefully, by protecting my inner space, by remembering that I was not my thoughts, my achievements, my social media presence. I was the awareness watching all of it, and that awareness needed tending, like a garden, like a flame, with care, with attention, with reverence. The 30 days taught me that transformation doesn't require extremes. It requires consistency, small acts, repeated daily, until they become not what you do, but who you are, until silence becomes natural, until presence becomes default, until peace becomes baseline. Day 30 arrived. I woke before dawn, sat in silence, made coffee with full attention, ate breakfast without screens, walked without earbuds, worked without tabs open, ended screens at sunset, moved my body mindfully. The practices had become invisible, not because I'd mastered them, but because they'd integrated, become breath, not effort, I thought about who I was 30 days ago, scattered, anxious, constantly reaching for the next thing, believing peace was somewhere ahead, in some achievement, some relationship, some version of life I didn't yet have. But the monks taught me differently. Peace was never ahead. It was always here, in this breath, this moment, this simple, ordinary, sacred now. I'd just been too distracted to notice. Monk mode wasn't about becoming different. It was about becoming undivided, about gathering the scattered pieces of attention I'd given away, about returning home to myself. These 5 teachings worked not because they were mystical, but because they were true. Silence before dawn reminded me I existed before my to-do list. One task taught me life happens in present, not productivity. Sunset fasting gave me rest. Mindful consumption protected my inner space. Movement grounded me in the body I'd been ignoring. Together, they created something I'd forgotten was possible. A life lived from the inside out, not driven by external noise, not shaped by others' expectations, but rooted in my own awareness, my own rhythm, my own truth. The 30 days ended, but the practice continued, not perfectly, but intentionally, because I've tasted something I can't forget, the feeling of being here, fully, without needing anything else. The monks were right. This is what freedom feels like, not doing whatever you want, but being completely where you are. They called it monk mode. I call it coming home, to silence, to presence, to peace, to the self I'd been looking for everywhere else, the self that was always here, waiting in the quiet, ready to be remembered.